Now we want to make the rectangle move across and spin while it does that to go across the stage. I'm just going to go to the last frame here and just make the rectangle a little bit smaller. I think it looks too big for the stage that we've got. And what I've got to do now is we're going to use a motion tween. So again, I need to go to a new layer, and I'm going to take the object that we've got. I'm going to copy the frame and paste it to the new layer, paste frame, and now I've got another keyframe there. What I want to do is create a motion tween. So I'm going to right click on the object and I'm going to say create motion tween, and it tells me that I must convert the symbol, the object into a symbol. Say OK for that. Every time you do a motion tween, it's going to convert the object into a symbol. So now this time it didn't add the 24 frames, so I can just go near the end of the frame and just drag it out as far as I want it to go. So I'm going to say maybe go out to about here. You can always go back and drag it shorter if you want it to happen faster, or drag it longer if you want it to happen slower. So now on the make sure that the playhead is on the last frame here. I'm going to drag this to where I want it to end up. So I'm going to drag the rectangle over here just off the stage. And now I've got the motion path shown in here. So I'm going to click somewhere in between here, and actually I'm going to go back to the last frame there, and I'm just going to go close to it. I'm not getting the little arc line that I want to be able to make changes here. So just click on the stage and then go back close to it, and I want to change the motion path here. So I need to go to the select tool and go near the motion path, and then I can drag this and make whatever shape I want for the motion. So now if I drag the playhead back here, I can see that my motion looks something like that. If I want to add more changes to it, more defined changes, I can anywhere along the way click insert a keyframe, or actually I don't even need to insert keyframe. If I just click on a frame somewhere here and now drag this down to another spot, it will change the path. Now I'm going to carry on a little bit further. Notice that it left a keyframe where I made that change. So I'm going to take this back a little bit further and add a couple more spots in here. Take it up to there, and then take it further along, and I think it came down a little bit, more like this, and then I can take it through to the end, and that looks okay. All right, so it doesn't have to be absolutely exact, but you just want some motion in there. Now, actually, what I should have done before making these keyframes in here is I should have set the rotation, and I could go back and do each one individually. But I think what I'll do is I'll just Control Z, get rid of those keyframes. Makes it easier if you do this before putting additional keyframes in there. Now, if I click here and click on the properties window, I get the properties of the motion itself, not of the object, but of the motion. So here I can click and just set how many times I want this to rotate. I can set which direction I want it to rotate, and now as I do the playhead, it's going to go through. Had I done that with the keyframes that I had put in there, it would only affect in between the keyframes where I did this change. So if I had a keyframe here and a keyframe here, and then I did the rotation change, it would spin in between there, but not ahead of that. So that's why I went back and just made it so that it'll be spinning throughout the entire motion. So now I'm just going to go back quickly and put in some keyframes to change the motion a bit, and I'm just dragging it up, drag it into the locations where I want to take it. Okay, and that's going to look good like that. So now we've got it spinning. Another thing that you could do, I don't know if it was on the other video, but we could also change it so that it fades out. So in here, in the last section, I'm going to make it fade out. To do that, what I need to do is I'm going to go to the last keyframe just because that's where I'm going to make it fade out. Or, you know what, let's make it fade out and back in again. So here I'm going to go to this keyframe. I'm going to click on the object itself, and now I get the properties of the object. So I'm not just clicked in the motion tween, I've actually clicked on the object and I get its properties, and the one I want to work with here is color effect. I'm going to change the color effect to alpha, and then I'm going to leave it at 100% here. Then I'm going to take it down to, at this point, I'm going to click again on the object to get its properties. I'm going to take the alpha down to 0, and notice that it fades out. And then on the next keyframe, I'm going to click on the object again and bring the alpha back up again. And now the object is going to fade in and fade out. It's going to appear or disappear. So that's another neat effect that we can do. The last thing I want to do is to have my text scroll up. Sorry, the last animation one. Then we've got to put in some sound and a stop action. So I'm going to create some text. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make the color yellow. And then I'm going to draw it out. Sorry, I can't do this on the same layer as the motion tween because it's got something different. So I'm going to go to a new layer, call this credits. And there, I'm just going to insert a keyframe. And now I'm going to draw out my text. So I'm going to click on the text tool and draw it out. And I'm going to put BN by Mr. Moore. And I want that text to be centered, so I'm going to go down here, go to paragraph, and so I'm in the properties window. I'm going to make it centered. That doesn't center it on the stage, it just centers it within that window, but that makes it easier to get it positioned. And I want it a little further down. I want it to be off the stage to begin with. And then I'm going to decide where do I want to start this thing. So actually I should have put this keyframe further earlier on because I want it to start earlier, but that's no problem. I can just go near it, get that little rectangle it shows, and drag this back. And I'm going to make it start somewhere in about there. And then what I want this time is I want to right click and create motion tween. And I'm going to move the playhead now to the end here. I probably want it to carry on a little bit further than that. So, sorry, that's a good spot for that to end. So I'm just going to bring that up like that. And now I've got a motion tween. I could do changes to the motion if I wanted to, but that's good. And now I just want this to stay on the screen for a little bit at the end. So I'm going to make up a new layer, and I'm going to call this credits stay. And I want to get that same text onto this layer. So a couple of ways I could have just cut and paste that or copied it before I went and created the motion tween, or now so that it stays in the same position, I can right click, copy frames, click up here, paste frames, and then I could remove the tween if I want, but it doesn't really matter. It's just going to stay still now. All right, so now it just stays still in there, even though it's a motion tween. There's no motion to it, so it's just going to stay there. And now that's the end of our animation. So playing it from the beginning, I'm going to hit enter on the keyboard. Okay, and looks pretty good. So now what we need to do is to add sounds and a stop action to the end of our animation. So to do that, to add sounds, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this hello. That's the sound that I'm going to add. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the library, and I'm going to add the sounds to the library. So I've got my sounds in the folder where I've got the project saved. So here's my basic animation, and I'm going to add this sound. So I just drag it over into the library. It can take a little bit for it to show up there. And then I'm going to take the VW as well and drag that over to the library. Once I'm done with that, then I can get rid of my Internet Explorer, and now I've got my two sounds. So I'm going to decide where I want to start the first sound. I think it's going to be fairly early on. and I'm going to put a keyframe where I want the sound to start. So I'm going to go to Insert Keyframe. Then all I do is I drag the sound to the, I drag the sound to the stage. Now I've got the sound in there, and if I play it, I can hear it there. Okay, and if I want to play the whole thing.
Hello? Anyone home?
Okay, so that gives me the sound. But I want to do a couple of edits to the sound. So I'm going to click somewhere in the sound on the timeline, and I'm going to go back to Properties. Here I want to change if it's not already set to that. This one is set. We want to make sure that it's set to stream. If it's set to event, the sound will keep going even after the video stops. So we want to make sure it's stream and repeat once. If I want to make any changes to the actual sound itself, I can click on the pencil here, and I can go in, and this is the sound file. I can go and change the start point. Maybe I want it to start here so there's not as much time without very much, or maybe I start it right about there, and I can zoom out if I want. And just pan across, and I can figure out which part of this thing I want. Then I can play it.
Hello? Anyone home?
That sounds
Hello? Anyone?
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say OK, and now that edited sound is in here. If I want it to stop at a certain point, I could put a keyframe at some point, and that will be the ending point for the sound. But I want the whole thing to play. So now I'm going to insert the VW sound. So I'm going to call this one VW. And I'll decide where I want that one to start. So I'm going to go closer to the end. So just as the credits start to come up, and I'm going to again go back to the library and drag the sound. Oops, sorry, I didn't put in a keyframe, so I want to put a keyframe on that layer. Insert keyframe, then drag the horn sound to the stage. And now that's in there as well. I'm going to double check that the stream is set, so I click somewhere in the sound, go to Properties, stream is set to repeat once, the sync is set to stream, and now this thing should play properly.
Anyone home?
Okay, we've got the sound at the end there, and we could edit that if we want. Right now I'm going to leave it as is. The last thing I need to add to the animation is a stop action. Right now if I go Control, Test.
Hello? Anyone home? Hello? Anyone home?
Notice that the video keeps playing, it loops, and so I want to make it so that it only plays once. So I'm going to make up a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer Stop Action. And then at the very last frame, make sure you're at the last frame, make sure that you add a keyframe. Insert keyframe, and now I go up to Window, down to Actions, and the Actions window will open. Double check that you're on the layer that you want to be, so Stop Action, and here I'm on the last frame of the video, so 68. If by chance I'd forgotten to put in the keyframe, this would probably say something like frame 1, and then the stop action would happen right away and we wouldn't see anything. So stop action is 68. Now I just type in the code, stop, bracket, colon, and that's all you need. Now I can close that, and now when I run this thing, Control, Test Movie, notice that as it's doing it,
Hello? Anyone home?
And it plays just once, and that's exactly what we want. So our video is now complete. We would upload it to the Dropbox. We would upload the animation and the SWF file. Okay, so you need to upload both those things when you're uploading the project, and usually actually you'll upload the entire folder. You'll include all the files, including your sound files and any animation, photo images that you've got. Okay, that's the end of our video. Hope this was helpful.